say what you're going for?
There you go.
Literally curb stomp that subscribe button. Pow!
Here's a falchion I'm making. Taking a class with Peter Johnsson, and I'm going to, we're studying falchions. All of Peter's documentation of them and such, I'm assuming. So I was making this blank to their specs. A certain amount of thickness as prescribed by Peter Johnsson. A certain amount of thickness as prescribed by Peter Johnsson. We shall keep his secret safe. But definitely not enough taper. He doesn't want his irreverent swordsmith stuff shared out too broadly. So I'm probably not going to give like the history. I'm just going to show the blank. And then be like, making a blank. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I got a little more grinding to do. Right there, don't I? I don't want this fire scale in here, and I have a little divot that... Yeah. I just want to blast through there, between there and there. Because it swells back out to just about full thickness right here. And we don't really want that. Yeah, I've never made a falchion before. This will be my first one. We'll see what sort of mystical knowledge Peter has to impart. It's usually something. I know, I'm a fanboy, it's fine. I fully embrace my fanboy Peter Johnsson attitude. I think he's great. I think his art, the style that he puts art into his swords is really resonant with the populace. I think everyone can look at those and go, it's fucking art. So, who better to go learn from? Just a tiny bit more, my dear.
I find at least, is to preserve material where you need it in the guard. Because you're going to work a lot in the middle with the countersinking and the shaping there, and it's very easy to make the pommel, the guard, too narrow to the blade. Remember that you need a certain width across the guard, so it can meet the scabbard and the grip in a good way. You don't really want to end up much less than 16 millimeters. If you end up at 18 or 20 millimeters, you have something to grind on. And that's quick work. And usually you need some truing up. So if you forge really tight to shape, you can go down to 16 millimeters, but aiming for a thickness of 20 is a good idea. Also because that slot is more often than not a little bit to one side. It doesn't take much then to just... So be careful when you lay out that first groove, because if it's to one side and you start to push in that tool, it'll want to cave to one side if one side is too narrow. And then the whole thing becomes lopsided. So yeah, that's just something to think about. And also with the drawing out of the arms of the guard, it's easy to encroach or invade on the central part of the guard when you do that. And sort of, yeah, well, try it out and make two of them if you have to, but that'll be fine.
When you're doing your final fit up, Peter, to your actual blade, are you Are you fitting that in with little burrs or something by hand, or are you actually like heating that piece up and hitting it onto your sword one time or two?
I
Do the
usually
final?
file it actually,
Yeah. Okay.
because I do that in my home workshop,
Yeah.
which is not really a smithy.
Yeah.
If I was more dedicated and focused on the forging, I would make tools. So it would be a precise fit to begin with.
Yeah.
So if you take some extra time and make a tool that is exactly to the shape of your tang, or ever so slightly smaller, your fit up will be very smooth and quick. It just takes some extra time in making the tool instead of doing the file work afterwards. So I really recommend doing that if you haven't done it before, and you may fall in love with that method, because once you get that method down, and you do forging anyway, you will see it's a very quick way to get to a final result.
I love it.
Otherwise, what I do is I'll drill up the actual tang slot, and I file it, which is boring and takes time. But it's because of my workshop setup. I mean, I don't really need to take more of your time now. Is there anything you're wondering about that we should discuss or go through that I've been... No? So I think if we move along at this pace, we might be able to start looking at the grip even like late tomorrow.
Yeah, I hope so.
And that would be great, because then we could prepare, and you could actually you could size the core and leave it overnight with hide glue, and we can all do that. I don't just have to do a demo, you can all of you can do it. So with that in mind, I think it's a really good idea if you keep those tang ends over long. So you could do a threading of the outer bit of it, like a sacrificial pot, because then you could have a spacer and a nut, and you can keep everything pressed together, which would be ideal for the grip making, because then we can do like a mounted in place grip with the leather, and still doesn't have to be the final or the permanent one, but it's as good as.
If we want to do that, Peter, I'll need to know the size and pitch of nuts that we need, because I'll need to pick some up.
Yeah, I thought maybe we could just thread our own from mild steel. Otherwise, it's going to be, well, whatever is handy for you in imperials or metrics. I use 5 or 6 millimeter thread. And what you need to do is to agree on 1 or 2 widths or diameter for these threads.
Oh wow, okay.
And I guess that's a good moment to do right now. What kind of dimensions do we have?
I don't know if I have enough left, but
Mine are going to be very slim compared to everybody else. I don't know if that's that.
But remember that the diameter of the thread doesn't have to be the thickness of the tang. So you can do a thing that's
the spine and the edge side could be
like
threaded.
you can do a thread like this.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
was actually going to ask about that yesterday. Is that a strength issue in any way? Having
I
the
mean,
threads only on the
you
side?
wouldn't want this kind of thread for a final mounting.
Yeah.
But for this purpose, it's absolutely fine. It's a bit finicky to do that kind
It is,
of threading, but
Easily rounded.
you know, I think it's worth doing. Otherwise, if you given yourself enough extension, you can, even if it's just a very tiny thread, you can still have like a spacer here, and do a tiny little thread there. It doesn't have to be very strong for this purpose. It's just to hold everything together.
We could also just tack weld on a little bolt
Exactly.
and then cut it off later.
Exactly. That's perhaps even better.
You don't have to. You can
Yeah,
get them all the
yeah,
same.
yeah. What are we thinking about? I mean, if we have a threaded bolt, tack weld that one on, and just make a spacer that is big enough to take all that.
Yeah, but once again,
Thank
I
you
need to
for
know the size of
thinking.
both.
What's that?
I need to know the size of both.
I know. So I would say 1/4 inch thread with nuts, and we just tack weld on those bolts and then we figure out the kind of space you need individually. That's much better. Sounds like a good solution? Because then there's no threading and no extra work like that.
Peter Johnsson is amazing. He's a great dude.
Falchion Friends Friday video.
I like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for. Beautiful sword, Michael.
Oh, thank you.
I love it. I really love the way that it hovers in space and time in such an odd manner. He's a wizard.
He's a wizard.
Yeah, he's a wizard.
Wizard level, Jedi. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's all the way up there. He's maxed out. Yeah, he's S
tier.
S plus tier.
Love that.
Four star champion. No, when I was leaving the last day, they were like, kind of like, oh, you can stay and hang out. And I was like, yeah, I gotta get back to the dung. And I went in the door and I was like, see you guys later, Peter, Master, Senpai, and he was like, more. And I was like, you're awesome, buddy. Yeah,
he seems to do a really good job of dealing with that kind of thing. I think some people would get like really embarrassed or I don't know, maybe other people would get really puffed up by it, but I think he's got a good sense of humor about the whole, the way that he knows he's perceived,
yeah,
which I really appreciate.
I don't hide that I'm a fanboy. Like,
And you should.
I saw his blades for years and was like, oh my God, Peter Johnsson. Yeah.
Great.
We all took the same class with a master swordsmith, so we were doing a little YouTube-y thing.
Check it out. You can pick it up.
You want to pick up a falchion?
It's a little bit sharp, so it's like
leave
approaching
from
a
home
dangerous
to
thing.
get it, so.
That one's
It's pretty
dull, so
dangerous
you're awesome.
already because it's almost dry.
So this is our blacksmith.
The first class, I cried on Peter because I was like, but I've been feeling like I should give this up. I've been feeling like I should stop for years, feeling so much self-doubt on all this stuff, and just having someone be there and to kind of help me through that in these moments, and just such support. Me and him, just like, like, I love you, Peter, you're so good. Yeah, I definitely feel that, getting all those smiths and the juices flowing.
Yeah.
Everyone's making something. Yeah, you know it. You know what I'm here for. Stay tuned for the end of the video. But yeah, getting
Links
all
in the
that-
description.
Links in the description of my OnlyFans, onlysmiths.com. Yeah, getting all the smiths kind of working. Even though we're all making a different sword, everyone is kind of really interested in what everyone else is doing. I'm being inspired by the work that Josh is doing, by the work that you're doing. We're all giving each other tips and tricks and hints about what we're best at, and I think it really, every time I walk away with so many new skills, so many new skills.
Yeah, like every morning I like to walk around and see what everybody's drawing or whatever,
Yeah, I agree with
or what their parts are looking like, really.
You get to see little sketches of like other ideas they might
Yeah,
have, and it's like,
that's cool.
oh, maybe I'll take that. That's it. Yeah.
I also liked how the very well-equipped shop of Zack Jonas there. I was thinking more about like the purpose of that shop is only to make what he wants to make. Like that's it, and that's why it all exists. Just to have all those tools to be able to do it like perfectly and to the highest level possible.
Yeah, and then we all get to go in there and play.
Right.
And he gets to, I can't imagine, I don't think I'd be able to take 3 weeks off from my shop if I had a shop like that. I'd be like, all of you get out. I'm making swords right now.
I got shit to do.
Yeah.
You're in my way.
You're all bugging me. Yeah, I don't know if I could.
But it was inspiring, I'd say, to see that. I liked how immersive the class was though, 7 days straight of only thinking about this, hopefully, as much as possible.
Yeah. Karina and Zach, like, taking executive function load off of you with the meals every day and the breaks when they just announced, breaking meal, go. Just kept me so focused and so like powered up. Where normally I would have worked a 12-hour day, forgotten to eat, collapsed the next day, been doing terrible. So,
This is, I think, a healthier system. I think it's safe to say.
Way better.
Yeah.
Come, we'll feed you and teach you and
Yeah.
care for you.
That's
Yeah, I mean,
nice.
they're excellent hosts anyways, and they've done enough classes where, I mean, they've got it down to a schedule. It's just so seamless.
Yeah,
Or at least it appears that way.
Peter's
maybe.
getting better at the scheduling too. Because
Yes.
the European sword class, but he had just gotten over COVID, and we were discussing how intense brain fog and stuff was. So he was a little more scattershot. It was kind of a little more amazing in some manners because it was really theoretical. He took so much time. Every time you asked him a question, he got so into the European sword that you got way more than you intended from his speech, and then you were like, wait, we just wasted 45 minutes and I should be grinding on this sword. Not wasted, but used up. So this time it was really practical. It was really, really, here's falchions, here's how we're making them.
Here's what you should do today.
Yeah.
It was very
just really-
self-directed also. I liked that. I thought that was interesting anyway.
it's not
Like,
hovering over.
this is what you should try to do by today. Now go do it.
I think it helps you with the skills. Yeah, because you're not always like, oh, but I'm so confused. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got real good at making a falchion.
Have you made a falchion before?
No. In fact, this was probably the largest single-edged blade I'd ever attempted before,
Same here.
and that brought up a lot of challenges.
Single edge. Mine's got 3.
Nice.
Mine has too many edges.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd never attempted such an ambitious fuller, that's for sure. That big, fantastic groove in the center, that was nerve-wracking, but it came out great. I'm really encouraged to do more in the future, for sure.
This is really beautiful.
Thank
Your
you.
fuller- your fuller
Appreciate
is
that.
crisp as hell.
Yeah.
Josh's fuller is so gentle and huge that it's the whole sword, basically. But I love it. It's such a cool fuller.
Yeah, and you blasted it out pretty quick. I was actually really impressed with how fast you moved along on that one.
It's all about those good grinders they have there.
Oh my God, they're excellent. Yeah.
I can
Toy.
only get 6 of them.
Yeah.
Just
And
set 'em
using
up.
a lot of expensive abrasives with like no holds barred.
I definitely treated them as like very disposable.
They were half
Gotta-
used, and you're like, nah, rip through some more.
Yeah. It's
But
like
that's
$10
why
a
Zach buys
belt.
so many.
Buy the box full. We're going to have to start getting around. Definitely fullers. Fullers and hollow grinding was big, big lessons there that I just wasn't really used to at all. Every time I do a fuller, I always forge my fuller in and then clean it. Because I find it seems impossible to do a fuller like that. And then all you got to do is study with the masters, I guess.
I had done exactly one forged fuller before, and I ended up really hating it because the swage tool we had, the bits were just ever so slightly misaligned. So it's like every now and then you check and it's a total corkscrew, and it's like, well, what if I flip it over?
One bends slightly and you
Yeah.
get a hard corner mark in the
No,
top
I
of
super
it, and you
hated
want
it,
to
so-
cry.
I never wanted to try that.
No, I don't recommend it unless you have some really tight tooling. At this point, I think it's easier just to grind it.
Right?
Now,
But,
yeah. Well, with the 2x72s with all the adjustable arms and wheels and stuff, way easier.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't mean
By Northridge. I'm just kidding. Sponsor me, Northridge. Send me money. The 6th
please
video we
sponsor
ever made.
I don't know. I like the TW90, the positive tension it gets.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
The TWs are good. Yeah, they were just set on too low of a table at Zach's
yeah.
shop, so I'm like, I don't want to bend down.
One of them was super low. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely not meant for tall boys.
And yeah, it's a whole gang of over 6 foot by a good margin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I went a little overboard on using some. I would go back and use an old one because I'm so used to here where I have my belts for 6 months and I'm like, that one's still got a little bit on it. Save that one. That one's only covered in copper a little.
So I know exactly which one you're talking about.
He picked it up. He's like, "Is this poor man's copper plating?" And I'm like, "Yep."
Sounds good.
Puts it right on the face.
Well, I knew of his like modular design stuff
Yeah.
because Jack McAuliffe was drawing those circles on swords back on Webster Street at like in like 2011. He had somehow gotten the memo, and he was
Got the
fucking
memo about modular
drawing
design.
circles
Well,
and sword design.
If you're doing a bilaterally symmetrical sword, that's a good way to just check if you've got, evenness on each side. If you strike a center line and you do the circle thing, that's a totally normal thing to check. But having it laid out the whole way with the modules and everything that Peter really pushes.
That's like really like where he got into like
That's the sweet stuff.
the cool stuff. I think.
The geometry style too, as opposed to the modular, is something I want to try more of with these. Using the base, drawing your base square, and then tracing circles and lines, and using all those measurements to create. Because he showed us some that were designed that way, and there was a Crusader sword that was based on an inscribed octagon, and it was super cool looking. All those proportions were just you could tell how designed it had been. And he drew the octagon over the thing, and everything just matched up. The guard lengths were perfect, and handles and hilts. And I was like, I gotta try this.
It's an extremely satisfying system.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, oh, that. How do I get this distance? Well, let me go to my little rune shape over here. And I'm gonna scribe the stars and throw some runes, and there we go. You got what we need. Feels magical.
And it's easy to feel like it kind of like locks you in, but especially with this class, because he was kind of like just sort of dancing between like telling us to do, okay, do this geometric for the hilt, and then everything else is modular, or vice versa. It was really eye-opening to see how flexible it can be. You know, you can feel like you're literally getting boxed in with all these shapes, but it's actually a really
Nice.
it's a really it's a very versatile system, I think.
I think you can design anything. Yeah, if you take the long enough time to really. I mean, they did it with cathedrals. That's the whole point. Is looking at cathedrals and going, wow, those could be swords. I think that's how it started.
But sometimes you sort of pick up skills or you do things in the smithy and you kind of do it unconsciously, or you're just problem solving and you don't really realize why you do it. A lot of what I've done previously as I've become a swordsmith, Peter sort of reiterated at me with refinement. You know, I did stepped tangs before I did Peter. I did Peter before I met Peter. I did my curved swoops on my shoulders and my sword, so I was reducing stress risers. But then once Peter pointed it out, gave me a formula for sort of how to do it and why you're doing it, suddenly everything kind of clicked into knowledge rather than just being random problem solving issues. So I do see that where when you get in there with the people, everyone's kind of reinforcing the lessons we've all learned halfway doing other stuff. So.
It's been really nice to get like the overlap and the reinforcement of the concepts that I don't always retain on a given day or even just one class. That's been a really fantastic thing to kind of feel like I actually have a knowledge base rather than I'm winging it, but I'm a little more informed. It's been a weird balance for a while now. Which is
we're all kind of winging it, and I don't think there's a blacksmith or bladesmith out there that isn't hands-on learner.
Sure.
That's how you learn,
That's
right?
what we do.
Trying to
That's
do it.
why we do what we do. Is I gotta get my hands on it. I've had Peter worked a lot on my European sword because I showed up with a rough, just forged, unground blank.
Oh wow!
I had a crack the night before.
Oh, that's right.
Until 1 or 30 in the morning, just pounding on a blank.
Were you guys in that class together?
Nope.
No, I was with Paige and
Paige, I know him.
a bunch of
What you said?
Nah, Zoe Potter, I think we just visited and Zoe was there. She was very cool.
very cool. Yeah, nice work. Tight hands. Pow.
We're totally becoming like a podcast now, shouting other people out.
Zoe Potter, she's like, we met once.
We had one conversation. Why are you shouting me out on this YouTube video?
Nice.
Because you're cool, lady.
I saw her compete at New England School.
Yeah, right.
Compete in the Battle of the Bladesmiths. She did pretty good.
You go. 2 shout-outs.
For Zoe, right? Absolutely destroy that subscribe button.
Oh my God.
And stomp the comment section with everything you got.
And share this video.
And then share this video to all your friends.
Zoe Potter.
Especially. And Peter Johnsson, so he knows.
And turn on notifications.
Yeah. We got the whole gamut. Look at this. This is going to be the Sword Guild.
I've never been on the ground level on something before. I'm so
Sword Guild, Sword Guild, Sword Guild, Sword Guild, Sword Guild.
Yeah, speaking of Peter, I don't know, being around, it's like, it's really easy to kind of think of Peter as this creature who exists for swords, when you see the stuff he makes and how he's got all this experience with, viewing and studying originals and making pieces based off of those and then making things of his own. It's also really refreshing to see like Peter the human because you don't always get that view. And then when you spend 7 days, hanging out with a bunch of other sword nerds in the middle of the woods, you kind of get to know people. And it's just refreshing in all ways.
Yeah, he comes, I've mentioned something like that the first class I took with him where the humanization of him was actually kind of increased his power in my mind because originally I was like, he's just a wizard who just must chant spells and the blades appear. And now I'm like, no, he's just a regular guy who has a wife and kids and he has things to do and he somehow manages to put all this care and energy and power into these blades and make these works of art.
And it's a struggle too. I mean, he's very open about how hard it is to do some of the stuff he does, especially on timelines. But yeah, he documents his stuff pretty thoroughly. He takes a lot of pictures, and he's shared a lot of, you know, showing like little insights and really close-up pictures, which is an extraordinarily brave thing to do. I don't always do that with my work.
Getting in on
Get
those
really
textures.
close and be like, look at that.
Yeah.
That's wrong. It's a level of
You've seen me do it. Go. It's horrible. And you're like, I can't see it. It's right here.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't
You
hide
just
it
have
in
to
a good
zoom
picture.
in to this far away.
The picture
and
will
take a
show
picture
whether
with a
it's
really
good
good
or
camera.
not.
You have to remember that sometimes. The last sword I made, I was like, no one's gonna get as close to this thing as I am. I'm spending 6 hours chiseling lines, you know, here, trying to track my lines perfectly and being a nuisance to myself. And I'm like, no one is gonna take this thing and go, wow. You're gonna, oh, that's a cool sword.
Yeah, when I do detail work, I wear a little magnifying visor a lot, and it's really easy to get lost in that world because everything looks this big, but you're actually in such a tiny little scale. So I don't know, it's hard to straddle that line of being like really tight with your technique and then also saying, you know, I've entered into the magical land of good enough. You know, I don't need to kill myself pushing this further.
Well, yeah, John and I both have the same basic, what's it called?
Design.
Well, yeah, based on a historical
The
thing.
Thorpe Falchion was the one that we
Thorpes,
picked. Yeah. Found in the Thorpe River, I think. But that was part of the other aspect, was that we all picked very similar base shapes, and everyone came out with something unique and different. Josh came out with a laser that is so light in the hand, so easy, and I came out with a powerful chopper for hacking people to pieces, and Mike made a beautiful, very, very light, it's a wee boy. Not stubby. There's like he's got this girth to the center of the belly that's really, really nice. Jason Morrissey made that, I don't even know what you want to call that thing. It's a falchion, and it looks crazy cool, and it looks like it would weigh 10,000 pounds, and it's light in the hand. The spine was just huge, just so well made.
Get in there with some slightly finer. It's all screwed up now from some rust happening on it here and there.
Rust already?
Yeah. Kids' fingerprints and shit on there.
The kid's just not touching it in the night. You come out at midnight and he's like,
Right.
Well, now it's got red Scotch-Brite mixed in. I need to refinish it a little bit.
good stuff.
Finish sharpening it and then finish it.
You going for chef's knife?
It's getting it's almost sharp. It's like this close to me.
I heard
sharp.
that.
It's got a burr on some of it.
Every ridge of my skin clicking over the edge.
It's getting dangerous.
It's called a thirsty edge. It's got that little burr there.
What was it Peter said? This thing's gonna cut like a hungry demon. I believe was his phrase. It was a good one.
That's cool.
He says wild shit like that all the time, and I love it.
I don't know where his brain comes from with the linguistic choices, and I love every moment of it.
Yeah, I have a backlog right now. I have 2 other blades that I did in classes with Peter that really are just, they're sitting in the corner and saying, I remember when we used to be close.
Yeah. Well, it
Abandoning
happens
them
too
for
with
themselves.
learning and getting better at new things, right?
Oh,
So
sure.
eventually you're like, fuck that old thing. It's kind of shitty anyway.
Yeah. Sometimes it's
It's
hard to
just part of
step
the
back
learning.
when you've advanced so much that you look at that and like it would be quicker for me to just make a new one. That's what I
absolutely.
know. Go back instead. Thanks for hanging out, guys.
Yeah,
It was great. Sarah, thanks for hanging out at the sword class. That was so much fun. I've never gotten to hang out that much with my sword friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
That's cool.
Super cool.
Now I
time.
got sword fever.
I know, right?
I hope he was serious about the March Messer madness. Oh my God.
I'm sorry for suggesting that name.
Don't be. I'm psyched. If he does it, I'm there.
Excellent. I'm calling it.
Nice.
Video over.
That's a wrap.
We win.
Yeah, we win. We win.
Peter Johnsson is amazing. He's a great dude.
Okay for you? Was it okay?